In 2012 was when I had an out-of-body experience. It first started with me creating a prayer so that I could try to connect with some sort of God that I didn't understand what that meant. And I created the prayer, may the grace of God shine down on me. And I knew that grace played a part for whatever reason. I didn't understand exactly what it was. But I said this prayer all day for like a 2-week period because I did not want to hear my own thoughts. I was suicidal, and I don't know why I'm getting so emotional. Sorry. I always get like this when I tell it. So I was in a thrift store, and there was this little old woman who was going to the back of the store where a stack of pictures were. And I had been saying this prayer for like 2 weeks. And in the intern of that, I was seriously contemplating my suicide. And I kept saying, may the grace of God shine down on me. And this woman caught my eye because she had like this Dr. Seuss looking hat on. She had these 2 little canes that she was walking with. And she went to the back of the room and wanted to get this picture out of this the stack of pictures. So I offered to help her, and she started like ordering me around to put the picture here, and there's words on the bottom. I want you to read the words to me. And I'm looking at her like, I can't see the words. They're too small. So she waved one of her canes at me and told me that she wanted me to get on my knees and read the words loud because she cannot hear good. So I'm like, okay. So I got on my knees and I read the words in the picture that said, the grace of God shines on thine. And I'm a very analytical person. And I'm like, what are the chances that my prayer would be in this picture? And I felt this presence that came over me, and I started crying, and I'm on my knees. And she's looking at me, and I'm looking up at her going, are you going to buy this picture? And she said, I have to now. Look at you. So it was a picture of a church, and there was trees, and the sun was shining through, and the little words, the grace of God shines on thine. It was like, it made me feel like there was something that was trying to communicate with me. And I went home, and the next morning I was walking my dog, and I felt different. And as I'm walking my dog, I left my body, and I went into this realm where there were all these people around this big table, and they were all communicating with me. And I can't remember things that were said, but they were telling me I was part of this mission, and that I was going to be writing these books, and I was going to be teaching. And the next thing I know, I'm walking my dog. And I actually started in this book here. I went home immediately, and for days I wasn't sleeping. And I was drawing diagrams. It was just pie charts and handwriting continuously that I was like sketching all this stuff out. And this was all new to me, and it was all about thoughts and feelings and the spirit. And you know, I had the opportunity in college that Stephen Hawkins taught me the origins of the Big Bang Theory in my origins class. And I didn't believe in any of this stuff. So this was a whole new world for me. And make a long story short, I was handwriting all this stuff, and I kept hearing these voices in my head telling me all this stuff, and then I had to publish them. So here I am, and now I'm being told I have to teach it. And I'm very uncomfortable being in front of a camera. I'm the person who likes to sit in the back of the room, and I'm having a really hard time learning how to articulate all of this. I come from foster care. I struggled my entire life, and why me is my question, but it is what it is. And since I started, I've done 2 videos on explaining the diagrams. This is my 3rd video, and it's on the flow of life, the flow of the Holy Spirit, and the flow of intentions. I see pictures in my mind of how it works in the body, and it's something I've lived. It's a process I lived. I came from having thoughts of suicide to wanting to tell the world about how this unseen world works inside of us and changes us. It's a purpose. I found that the soul is real. It's a real part of the body. And if there are no inspirations when we are here, because we are here to create further, I see us as a vessel that we are to allow these higher entities to work through us. And depending upon what our thoughts and our feelings are, is what type of entity will enter our body. And I've lived with nothing but dark entities inside of me pretty much my whole life, torturing me in my mind. And I see now that I needed to experience that to know the difference. And now that I see what love is and what creation is in comparison to what this dark world is, it's a choice. And I didn't realize I had any choices in that before. And today I have choices, and I choose to wake up and be happy. So the inspirations are very important for the soul. And that's something that I elaborate on. What I wanted to today was to be able to explain why it's important that you have positive thoughts and feelings, because that determines the type of energy that enters the body and either gives you inspirations for creation that can heal the body, which it has healed my body, or you're looking at dark entities, dark feelings, dark thoughts, that the soul will eventually lose what I call the flame of life, and the body will die. The soul is what keeps us alive here. And that's our connection to the Creator. You can call the Creator whatever you would like. I call it the God of my understanding. And everything works based upon what the Creator dictates. But the problem is that the principles are at war on what information they want to give the spirit that gives the human. Correct.
Okay.
Benevolent beings, there's all types of them. And it's the guides. Some people today are interpreting them as the aliens, the different levels of dimensions that we go into to receive information. I'm hearing a lot of people talking about the 5th dimension, the 12th dimension. I don't understand all of that, but I know that it's a higher source of energy. I'm seeing the energies that are coming onto the planet. And there's very high energies that are coming here and providing us with information. And it's our responsibility to make it something good, or we're going to separate. We're going to separate. The earth is going through an energy shift, and it's evolving. I call it the heartbeat. The heartbeat of the earth is vibrating faster, and we have to figure out how to keep up with that. And the only way to do that is to evolve our frequencies. For me, it started with what I think and feel. And That's why I call it the flow of change. When I was negative, I saw everything negative. There was no hope. There was no goodness in this world. I had no purpose. I didn't want to be here. I hated waking up. And as I changed inside, I was able to identify 10 different components that changed me inside that eventually reflected out into the world that I created. The outside world is a reflection of the inside. And I could look at a storm and find it beautiful, depending upon how I feel inside. And I make it what it's going to be. And that was a process for me to learn. So I broke it into 10 components. In this book here, in The Mind is Something Greater, The Flow of Change for the Soul, I have 40-some diagrams that I receive through visions of how the flow of change works inside. And each diagram has an explanation within itself of how something works inside of us. I was blessed with the visions of seeing things in symbols. And that was my way to be able to articulate how certain things work within the body. So like emotions are like a star, and the creator is got this circle with these 8 points around it. Some of it, I don't know why it has to be the specific symbols it has to be, but I'm being told by my guides that that's the symbol they have to be. I hear it just like I hear you. I have actually seen them above the room. There's certain periods of my life I can reflect back even as a child. I remember 4 people coming to me while I was out playing with my friends. I was probably like 7, and they took me into the living room and told me they were going to teach me numbers. They taught me time. I knew numbers were everything, and I'm communicating with them, talking to them like I'm talking to you. And my mom comes in there and goes, "Who are you talking to?" And I'm like, "They just taught me numbers." Who? She didn't see anybody. And that was confusing for me. And I didn't question any of that. But for a long time, I held the knowledge that numbers are everything. And there's pieces of it that come back to me. And then it's like this knowing I have when I see specific numbers, that it's messages for me. Just like people see 111, 123. I mean, I'm constantly being communicated with through numbers. But yes, I've seen them above the room. I leave my body. I go places. I dream. It's just part of me now. I'm in acceptance of that. Okay. All of it has meaning. Depending upon, like I said, my thoughts and my feelings make all the difference in what is being said to me. But I see messages through people, places, and things. There are people that will come up to me and say something, and it'll be exactly what message I'm needing, and they won't even realize they're saying it. There are specific places. I just came from New Orleans for this past weekend, and just the feel of that location was very significant. And seeing the numbers there in comparison to seeing the numbers in my home, they mean totally different. And then like butterflies, dragonflies, birds, nature in general, everything has some sort of message for me, because I'm aware now that it's just a reflection of what's inside of me, and I'm trying to communicate with myself, basically. What am I trying to say to myself to help with my ascension? And that's my ultimate goal, to create while I'm here so that I can ascend into the higher levels and bring my world with me. Well, ultimately, we all go back to one. So ultimately, I'm communicating with all. I've been on a level where I've heard all thoughts, for example. I'm part of that. So it's me, but it's all of us. It's one, all in caps, ONE, all in caps. We're all one. So some of my writings will be in the I format, some of it will be in the you format, and some of it's in the me format, because it's interchangeable. It was St. Patrick's Day weekend. Lots of partying going on, and I'm not a part of that. So I'm like an observer, and I'm there for the artists, and I love to look at the talents that are there. And I saw a group of people who were very drunk, and there's a little girl standing there, and she's obviously with someone in that group. And I'm looking at her, and I'm thinking how sad, here she is, and they're not even aware she's there. And part of me wanted to go to her, and I heard this thought in my head that this is her journey. She chose this. This is where she's supposed to be. Leave it alone. So I'm standing there, and I'm looking at my clock, my watch, and it says 1, 2, 3, 4. And that, for me, at that moment meant move on. And that was very difficult for me, but I'm a social worker by nature, so bleeding heart do-gooder, I wanted to help, but it wasn't for me to help. That was my message with the numbers.
You're not making it a formula in terms of, because I have seen where 1010 means this, 1111 means that, etc. And somehow I just couldn't bring myself to accept it wholesale. There had to be something more individualized. That's how I felt about it. Yes, and what I'm hearing from you is that it absolutely is individualized, and it has everything to do with where you are in that moment and how you take that particular momentary experience and relate it to that sequence of numbers and take from that whatever that meaning is. Is that how I understand that?
And keeping in mind that between your thoughts and your emotions is the energy source that comes into the body through the spirit. And that is going to, if you have more of a percentage of negative thoughts versus positive feelings, that's going to determine which type of spirit comes into the body. That's something that I was drawing in these pie charts, is the percentage of negativity that you hold will determine the percentage of negative spirits that will enter. And you can call the spirits any type of energy source you would like, but that is the source that brings us knowledge through the Creator. It goes from the Creator through the principles, and once the principles determine what information they want to provide the spirit based on the universal laws, then the spirit will, based upon what we think and what we feel, provide us with specific information. It's that law of attraction thing they talk about.